Hey, Cynical, what's up? God damn! God! Cool. Woo! Yep, it still works. Woo! God damn, does it work. I think I found a way to change the volume. Because there's a volume, thank you for the sub, by the way. But there's a volume thing, there's a thing. I think there's a thing, you know? I can do it, I have the power. I just need to use the power. Yeah, that is apparently still a gimmick people can use to scare the shit out of me. Because I definitely did cringe. It was very, very scary to me. Not necessarily scary, but shocking. Shocking and somewhat jarring, and is it? And I think it's got to be loud on the stream. Like if I wasn't able to adjust the volume for me, there's no way that I could adjust the volume for you either, because woo-wee, it is loud. To those who are viewing on the YouTube vertical, please don't swipe away. When there's a large influx of you guys, it really helps me to stay on the channel and hang out for a bit. We are just getting started. Today we're going to be talking about the same shit that we talked about on Thursday and Wednesday, which is tipping. I know that it feels like we are beating a dead horse at this point, especially if you are in the service industry and you know how important it is to tip. Then it probably feels like this is all just kind of like, oh my god, what? Why are we talking about tipping? Who's not tipping? You know what I mean? But there are movements, and they are growing. And there's a lot of reasons why, and we'll get to it as soon as the stream starts. I am Goose, and I need to go put on deodorant. There you go. That's a good intro. I'll call that an intro right there. Alright guys, I hope you've had your breakfast. Cynical's had his sausage and eggs. But I hope the rest of you have had your breakfast and you're ready to start your lunch. Because with lunch comes some tea. That was a bad transition. You know, they're not always winners. They're not always winners. Alright? Alright, I'm gonna get to switch in the scene. Hello, is this the scene I want? I think that is the scene I want. Yes, indeed it is. Gotta put on my commentary hat. And let me switch over on the vertical. Hiya! Alright. As you can see, I'm on the sub and tipping. You're gonna see a lot of propaganda today. You're gonna see ever so much propaganda. And I won't go so far as to say that it's new propaganda. All of the stuff that we've been hearing about tipping lately is all the same stuff we've been hearing about tipping for the last 100 years. So what I hope to do is simply shine a light on, the people that are participating in this, I guess you could say, like, propaganda mill type content. It's not like there's, like some endemic situation where all of America is somehow fervently now militantly against tipping. That's not how it is. There's, with every new phase of time comes new worries about tipping. With every law that passes that protects other professions, there's new renewed stress about tipping. Whenever anyone talks about inflation, there's always talks about how things are going to increase on the consumer side, and that all revolves around tipping. Not revolves around, but tipping is really included in a lot of that stuff. So what's going to be really useful for us... Oh, that's not... That's Kalis. I'm trapped in Kalis. Damn it, Cynical. I'm stuck. I'm trapped in the wonderful world of Kalas. There we go. And I am back. Alright, let me put the me cam in the vertical so y'all can see my pretty face. There we go. Hey, hi, hello, what's up? Hey, hi, and hello. Alright, so it doesn't revolve around tipping, but tipping's involved in a lot of the different facets of society. And so if we tippers, or if we tipped employees do well, then the rest of society, it's a good indication as to the health of the rest of society. The people on the very bottom are the ones who kind of inform how everybody else is doing. And it's usually people like, your janitors, your teachers, your service workers, the people who are at the very bottom rungs of society who are going to be the ones who are fulfilling all the necessary expectations of that society. So like feeding people, clothing people, putting people's hair into messy, chunky buns, things like that. So like all that stuff has to do with the health of a financial economy inside of a society. And if the financials are doing well, then the society is doing well. And if the society is doing well, then the people are going to do well. And if the people are going to do well, they're probably going to tip more. All right? So today we're just going to take a look at a smattering of different threads that appear on a couple of different subs that I used to frequent because I'm now banned from the end tipping sub, which is unsurprising. But we're going to just take a look at this is the first thing that comes up when you click on the end tipping sub link when you're looking at Reddit, just overall as a whole, okay? So this is what every stranger sees. Not stranger, but like this is what every Tom, Dick, and Harry, every average Joe, this is what they see if someone was to link them something on end tipping. If they were to look at the sub, this is what they would see first, okay? I'm just going to read this out. We're going to read it out together. I'll highlight this first stanza, if you will, all right? And then we can get to looking at it. While currently ubiquitous in a few countries, so Canada and the United States, tipping was once considered inconsistent with the values of an egalitarian democratic society. This was the opinion of the person on the ground who did not want recently freed slaves in America. If we're talking about the overall history of tipping, it's irrelevant to how tipping functions in the US. They do not work the same here as they work anywhere else, okay? It's even in Canada. Even Canada has better worker protections than we do. In some cases, some sectors. Otherwise, they just blatantly ignore some of that stuff sometimes. But the point is that it does not work here like it does elsewhere, okay? So, I mean, I'm okay with the broad definition of the term tipping, totally fine. But we can't always go by dictionary definitions for things. And this is like a thing that I have to keep hammering into people, that like it's easy to hide behind definitions when you're defending against someone calling you a Nazi, But it's hard to do that when there's all kinds of like nuances to your behavior, red flags that you might throw up, groups that you might be affiliated with that point toward you being a Nazi. The same thing with like tipping. It's I don't know. It feels like there's a lot of dishonesty that occurs, and so in order to hide themselves, they will typically hide behind dictionary definitions of words which are irrelevant to the actual application in reality. And usually dictionary definitions way differ from the law. So the law typically defines its own terms. The only type of tipping that exists in Japan is at a ryokan. You do an old custom called kokorozuke, which is a more discreet form of tipping seen as kind of token appreciation, even that though has to be placed in an envelope and be treated very low-key, handing bills over. Yeah, because you're essentially saying that somebody needs money, which I think is funny for the overall argument about tipping in general, because the truth is, yeah, they need that money. And in other societies, they have things like universal health care. They have things like 8 months off for like a summer break, and they have like paid bonding time leave, like we don't have the same protections in our country that other people do in other countries. Even like those shithole countries Trump always talks shit about, they also have worker protections that we don't have. Places like Pakistan, places like Pakistan and India, where else? Southeast Asia has a lot of like worker protection laws. There are some places where worker protection laws are almost non-existent. Yeah, companies want to be the government here, and in many cases, due to lobbyists, they are. Well, lobbyists are, I would say, my least favorite middlemen. I don't like middlemen in general, but they are definitely my least favorite, because they actually influence how our society operates, which is, like, probably not the best. Probably not safe for everybody. Not the safest, not the best. I would urge caution when trying to believe in the American dream today in the year of our Lord 2026, because it was designed designed into obsolescence. In the U.S., it was only introduced after Prohibition reduced alcohol-related revenue of restaurants and hotels. Since then, an increasing body of research shows tipping to be discriminatory and coercive, and many restaurants are seeing the value of ending it in their establishments. This definitely, like, I would say that it paints things in a very whitewashed manner. The practice was imported from Europe to America in the 1850s and 1860s by Americans who wanted to seem aristocratic. However, until the earliest 20th century, Americans viewed tipping as inconsistent with the values of an egalitarian democratic society, as the origins of tipping were premised upon noblesse oblige, which promoted tipping as a means to establish social status to inferiors. 6 American states passed laws that made tipping illegal. Enforcement of anti-tipping laws was problematic. The earliest of these laws was passed in 1909, and the last of these laws was repealed in 1926, Mississippi. Some have argued that the original workers that were not paid anything by their employers were newly freed slaves, and that this whole concept of not paying them anything and letting them live on tips carried over from slavery. Also, proprietors regarded tips as equivalent to bribing an employee to do something that was otherwise forbidden, such as tipping a waiter to get an extra large portion of food. However, the introduction of Prohibition in the U.S. in 1919 had an enormous impact on hotels and restaurants who lost revenue of selling alcoholic beverages. The resulting financial pressure caused proprietors to welcome tips as a way of supplementing employee wages. Contrary to that popular belief, tipping did not arise because of servers' low wages, because the occupation of the server was fairly well paid in the area where tipping became institutionalized. Again, we're going to see a lot of propaganda here. I won't say... Wikipedia is kind of a crapshoot. It's a little bit of a Wild West, but people do often audit and change entries. Tipping came from racism. Tipping came from owners not wanting to pay their employees. That was where it came from. It was sort of one of those things. It's like, imagine if Trump was around in the early 1900s and the slaves had just become freed and people were complaining that they were losing money because of Prohibition. Then what practice do you think that you would suggest? Like, what kind of changes to the system do you think you might suggest as Donald Trump, as a narcissist, as an asshole? What would you suggest? You know, well, if owners don't want to pay slaves and they have this practice of tipping people over in Europe, why not just bring that over here? Why not just say like, hey, you know, you guys are going to make well more than enough in tips to afford like living and all that kind of stuff. So come over here and come over to my establishment and get tipped by people. Not like understanding still that society is racist, that they probably still will not, you know, Jim Crow laws haven't even happened at this point, but they will, you know, that's the thing. They're still on the horizon. And so like, we're looking at a society that overwhelmingly doesn't want to pay its employees. The people on the ground, the customers, don't want to pay the employees. The owners don't want to pay the employees. It came from racism. It was a racist, exploitative practice in the US right when it first started, and trying to frame it as anything other than that, as saying that, oh, well, servers on average made way more than average wages. Yeah, but we've since codified those laws to make it so that now they're saddled with the same tax burden that they've always been, that everybody else is. They don't get the benefits, they don't get the same hours, they don't get the same shifts, they have to work when everybody else is out having fun. Like, that kind of stuff can strain your school relationships if you're a parent. They can strain your personal relationships if you're a person who has a social circle. They can strain your family, because your family probably works exactly the opposite hours as you do, goes to school the exact opposite hours you do. You cannot live a normal life and be a restaurant worker at all easily. And there's a really easy way to cross all of this into like a moral dilemma. Like, should I want to support the people in my community who serve me? You know, should I support them? The answer is fucking yes, overwhelmingly. But people they cannot look beyond their own noses sometimes. And seeing stuff like this that hides the origin of tipping, hides the reason why we do it, it emboldens them to continue to double fuck these people, as I always describe it. You know, it's not just that you're willing to pay the owner money while also saying that, yes, you acknowledge that he's exploiting his employees. You're still giving the owner money. And then you're signing on that dotted line and saying, you know, I think I'm just not going to help you at all. And I'm going to still I'm still going to empower your employer to continue to do this thing. And you're just going to have to figure it out. You made the choice to work there, knowing, though, that a lot of people don't make the choice to work at a restaurant, don't make the choice to work at a service establishment, or places where they know they're going to be exploited, or places where they know that slave labor is a thing. You know, they're not going to choose to do that. A lot of times, restaurants are the only places that don't require skill to become employed at. Restaurants are the only place that doesn't require a clean background check. They're the only place that doesn't require fucking papers to be in this country. And so these people who are already disadvantaged, who already have barriers to employment, who already have families to feed, now they can barely even feed those families because you choose not to tip them. Some cases, they can't even do that because we're taking away their SNAP, because we're taking away all the other social services, we're taking away their medical benefits, we're taking away all that shit. And this is why we're here, this is why we're doing this. In the super tourist facing business in Japan, sometimes they accept tips from Americans and stuff because they know it's a cultural thing for us. They're dealing with us all the time, and that's the only normal tipping I ever saw when I lived there. They do sometimes include a service charge or something on a bill, especially to hotels, but it's itemized or whatever. And when you ask somebody in a good faith discussion, you say, well, what do you want? You know, what do you want? Like, if we were to raise prices, or if we were to like change tipping somehow, or if we were to do what you want to do, let's say that you're God, you have omnipotence, you can pick whatever you want to do with the tipping industry, with the tipping, like, you know, I guess you could see it as an industry, but like with tipping in general, with the tipping practice, then they would usually say, well, I just want more honesty. I just want to know that my money's going to the server. I want to know that my money's going to the right place. I want to know that I'm tipping in the correct places where you're supposed to tip, and that I'm not going to be shamed for not tipping at the appropriate places. So if I just knew all that, I don't think I'd have a problem with it. That's the most common excuse that I hear for people when they try to justify not tipping, is that I just don't know that the money that I give is going to the person that I'm trying to give it to. And I totally sympathize with that. I completely understand. Absolutely. 100%. And like the only reassurance that I can offer is that in the majority of places, tips go directly to the server who collects them. Sometimes you may encounter a restaurant that is doing you're pooling tips, but that is an inherently corrupt process, and I would not encourage anyone to support a restaurant that pools tips, even if they do it fairly, because there's no set standard. You cannot determine beyond a shadow of a doubt that they're doing it fairly, and the money has to come from a manager, and that's bad. No good. My problem with tipping is that it's a bad user experience design. This is the other chief complaint that I hear from most people regarding tipping, is that it feels like an extra charge. It feels like you have to do something extra in order to do it, which is how it's designed. It's designed that way. It's designed to put a burden on you, because they're trying to drive a wedge between you and the laborer, specifically. It was designed with exactly that in mind. Psychological manipulation. It is some bullshit. Sales tax is the same thing. It's to manipulate you for political purposes. It's so that you can get mad at the people in Washington, so that the people who lobby for those laws gain support against those laws. You know? It's so that you see extra shit. You're like, I don't know if I want that. Very real problem in the government, which is something that I don't think we're going to take care of anytime soon, because the rising tide lifts all those fucking ships. So to cut out the racist part right here, to cut that out, tells me that they're specifically trying to leave out important parts. I know that you could potentially truncate something for brevity, but that's not what they're doing here. They're trying to remove the actual origin of tipping, which to me is like not just dishonest, but it's a little bad faith. It makes me feel like maybe perhaps they don't mind that tipping is an inherently racist practice. Because, I mean, it's a certain section of people, right? It's a certain sector, it's a certain demographic of people who don't want to tip. It's usually white, usually males, usually conservative. That's just where the figures skew, you know? I'm not saying that it is the result of any one group, because overwhelmingly, we are diverse peoples. And just as there are diverse peoples who work in restaurants, there are diverse peoples who hate fucking tipping. I'm on the side of the spectrum of people who believe that everyone should make a living wage, and thus tipping should be unnecessary. But there are other people who don't believe that people deserve a living wage, and believe that tipping is a perk. Which is insane, to say the least. Insane. End Tipping aims to further this movement. See, they're framing themselves as altruistic, ensuring that service sector employees have a fair income without tipping. A few of the specific purposes include cataloging and discussing articles about tipping. This really is just a personal jerk-off forum for people who hate tipping. That's all it is. They do and everybody clapped posts all the time. Constantly. Consistently. It's just, oh, well, I decided not to tip today, and I'm deciding never to tip again. And then all they get is just people patting them on the back, going like, good job, you did so much for the workers of America. How exactly does bitching and moaning about tipping ensure that anybody has a fair wage? How is anything that they are doing positive in any way, shape, or form? And not just an echo chamber for whiny little bitch babies who just can't spend that extra dollar. They can't fathom, they can't wrap their head around spending $1 extra when you're already putting fucking $52 on a goddamn check. Jesus. Listing no tipping restaurants so the community can help them out, right? You mean naming and shaming restaurants that ask for tips as well. Rallying support for relevant legislation. No, they don't. Not at all. Not ever in any potential arena have any of the people from End Tipping ever lobbied for government support at all. I would know because I go to my city council meetings. I actually sit in on the Zooms when they talk about legislation for oversight and for protections for workers. And I don't see any of these fuckers there arguing on the side of tipping or arguing on the side of anti-tipping. I don't see anybody there. Nope. No arguments whatsoever. They just bitch and moan on here. What are the problems with tipping? For a fun explanation, see this video by Adam Ruins Everything, which would be an interesting watch. Let's look at it.
Thank you guys.
I like Adam Ruins Everything.
You're ready.
Mr.
And we will increase the playback just because we don't want this to take all day. It's only 3:54, but you know.
Mrs. Axford, allow me. How much should we tip?
In a perfect world, nothing.
Shit!
Is this the guy?
Yep. We could just leave it there. Honestly. In a perfect world, you'd be tipping nothing. Ever. In a perfect world, everyone would be making exactly what they need to live. And if you wanted to... That's Ryan from Dimension 20. Oh, cool. I no idea. And in a perfect world, like, you would just be making enough to live, and you would then work for, like, extras. So, like, if you wanted a fancy car, you would then work for that. If you wanted one of the new fancy phones, you know, like an iPhone or whatever, you would work for that. If you want to save money for a bigger house, you would work for that. Everything else would be taken care of. You would have all of your bills, like water, utilities, medical bills, all that stuff. That would all be taken care of. You'd have your rent taken care of. You'd have your groceries taken care of. All that shit. That would all be taken care of. All done with the universal wage. Bada bing, bada boom. Ready to go. Only thing you ever need to pay for is extra shit. Amenities.
On, man. We were having a nice meal.
Yeah, we were, until the check came. Hi, I'm Adam Conover.
Hey, Adam.
Don't encourage him.
And right now, you probably hate me for even...
Wasn't he, like, recently exposed as just being, like, kind of a douche? I think I remember that, but I don't remember if it was him or the other guy. I know that the Super Size Me guy who died, like, I know he was kind of a douche, and he kind of, like, scammed the numbers and stuff on Super Size Me, but I think people also kind of exposed this guy, too. I don't remember what it was, but I think he, like, made some stuff up or something, or, like, sensationalizes somehow. But I guess we'll see.
daring to question the custom of tipping.
Yeah, what the fudge?
But bear with me. By the end of this video, I think you'll agree that tipping is a custom we'd be better off without.
I'll go.
With proper support networks underneath it as a foundation for a new system. As long as we change it over to a system that doesn't screw people over, I'm all for changing tipping. I'm all for it. I'm all for sweeping legislation that completely destroys tipping and pays people a living wage. Absolutely, 100%. Total support. I would vote for that immediately.
Oh, you're with your family. Thank you.
First, let's get one thing straight. If you live in America, you have to tip. Servers here
That's pretty true. That's pretty true. I wonder how many people on End Tipping actually watch this video.
rely on tipping to make a living. And as long as that's true, if you don't do it, you're an asshole.
See, I think what they think he's doing is being sarcastic when he says that. He's not. This is his disclaimer. This is his disclaimer for America. If you are in America, you need to tip. The servers depend on those wages, and if until sweeping legislation happens, if you don't tip, he says that with a microphone or with a megaphone. You're an asshole. And I saw a post this weekend, which is why I'm even doing this stream today, based on this category or this subject that I said I didn't want to cover anymore, is because I keep seeing posts that fucking enrage me. I keep seeing posts that fucking enrage me. And one of them was first talking about how Mr. Pink in The Reservoir Dogs, a movie about a group of people you should not be emulating, had just the greatest take on tipping. He's a douchebag. He's supposed to be a douchebag. You are praising a douchebag. You want to emulate a douchebag. Then in the same post, he says, "Oh, wasn't it great how Tony Soprano refused to tip? He's a douchebag. He's a mobster. He murders people." Even if you know, which I don't expect people with these smooth of brains to understand, even if you know that these people are fictional and fake, you should not be trying to emulate them in your everyday life. Fucking weird. That is straight up delusional. That's crazy cuckoo pants.
Sorry.
Thank you.
But just because that's the system we have, doesn't mean it's a good system. And tipping...
Agreed. And nobody in the tipped restaurant industry who isn't in bed with the NRA would ever disagree with that. Everyone agrees that the tipping system is broken. Everyone. Servers, owners, restaurant work, or like the other restaurant workers, the back of the house, everybody gives a shit about it. Everybody cares. This is on everybody's dinner plates at the family. You get what I'm saying, at the family table. I know that I'm stretching the metaphor, but I think we can get there still, even with my stretching. Did you see how the West Virginia passed a big sweeping law that bans 7 different synthetic food dyes by 2028, but a federal judge has temporarily blocked its enforcement because they have no idea how they're going to do it. They're still illegal in public schools, though. Well, I mean, like, how the fuck are you going to do that if corporations are the ones who are supplying the schools or supplying the commercial areas? Like, they're essentially the Cisco of the area, and like, how are you going to verify that when they're not providing oversight for themselves? It's a broken system, man.
Is a custom that shortchanges servers, inconveniences customers, and makes the dining experience worse for everyone. I'm so sorry.
First, ask yourself this. Why is it our responsibility to pay the restaurant's employees humanely? Why don't they just pay...
Yep, that is absolutely the thing that I hear the most, and I'm sure most of the people who even dared to watch this on N-Tipping either don't understand or stop watching the video here.
You a normal amount of money and make the food more expensive. I mean, that's what every business has done since the dawn of time. When you buy a pair of jeans, they're just $50. They're not like, that'll be $40, and you decide if the stock boy eats tonight.
Yep.
Ooh, sorry. What an asshole, huh? It's her fault, not mine.
The fact is, tipping is a relatively new custom in America. For most of our history, paying for better service was considered an undemocratic form of bribery.
Serve me a first rabble, will you? I'm a very wealthy man.
I shan't, sir.
Yep.
This is America, where every man has the right to decent service.
But after Prohibition,
Is every man not entitled to the sweat of his brow?
So they could pay their
No, says the man in Washington. It belongs to the people.
You better take some of that fat cat's cash.
Nearly a century later, restaurant owners still pay their servers less than minimum wage, turning what used to be a bribe into an obligation that makes the end of every meal suck.
Unless your idea of a good time is doing math and being lectured by your friends.
So 20% of 138 is the same as double 10%, which is... Fuck! It's just the SATs all over again!
20%. Wow, it's obvious you've never worked in the service industry. I always tip at least 60 because I care whether or not our waitress starves to death. If I give better service, I get a bigger tip.
Actually, you don't.
Oh, I like that. That's hilarious. I always leave 60% because I care if my server eats tonight. She's a better actor than her husband.
A study at Cornell University found that the real reasons people tip more or less are basically random, and that customers who receive great service tip on average just 1% more than customers who don't. Well,
it's usually based on bias. I hate to be the person who just like calls it out like that, but it's usually just bias. It's if you like women, if you like nerds, if you like trans people, if you like gay people, if you like black people, then you will tip more. It's usually whichever bias or affiliation or whatever that you have preference toward, that's usually who you're going to tip more.
And fuck it.
Should we not tip her?
No, well, I don't want to get yelled at.
That's also true. Tip shaming. That is also a thing too.
None of this stress is necessary. In most cultures, nobody tips, and everyone still gets their food on time. The only difference is their waiters get a steady income, and no one has to argue about the bill.
And don't tip on the tax.
What? You always tip on the tax.
I never tip on the tax. Ever since I was a kid, I never tip.
You don't tip on tax because servers are responsible for their own tax burden, and nowadays, especially since Trump took away taxes on tips, you are especially more beholden to your own specific tax burden, which means you don't have to. There's no the number of tips that, or the number of wages that gets taken out of your actual wages are going to be really dependent on how much you make, but it is going to be the smallest percentage of the all the stuff that is taken out of your expenses. So you actually, in some cases, you actually have to pay to work at a restaurant. I don't know if you guys knew that. But yeah, if your tax burden or your expenses outpace the tips that you expect to make on a certain night, you absolutely can end up paying for your shift, which is fucking ridiculous. I've never heard of a situation like that before. Did Adam Ruins Everything grow out of Dropout or College Humor? This is a College Humor production. And I think Adam Ruins Everything started as a web series put on by... Oh, this is 11 years ago. Yeah, this was during the time. So yeah, Dropout and College Humor. This is a College Humor segment on Dropout TV. So yes. So the same shit is that show that I could absolutely make a better version of. Game Changer. That show that I could absolutely make a better version of. No shade to what's his face, to that dude who puts it on, but I absolutely could do it better.
On the goddamn tax.
Join me next time on Adam Ruins Everything when I'll be talking about Bill Cosby's dozens of rape accusations.
You're a man.
Yeah, so no new information there. All of that is shit that I already knew, but I guarantee you that these guys are seeing it as a I don't know. Let's hear what they say. Not here, but let's read what they say. Tipping is acknowledged by sociologists, historians, and economists as a harmful practice for multiple reasons. We all agree on that. It doesn't improve service, true. It suppresses wages for the back of the house. Not really, no. A lot of servers tip out the back of the house. Even if it's just a very small percentage, they still do it. So if you tip your server, you're actually also helping out the back of the house, which arguably make less money than anybody else in the actual restaurant. And don't even say dishwashers and porters, because if your restaurant's a good restaurant, they're typically paying them about as much as they're paying the sous chef, which is nothing to sneeze at. They're at a premium. The only way to finance raises for cooks is to increase meal prices. Is to encourage the owner to pay them more. So owners, I mean, I don't know who needs to hear this, but owners, they aren't having to subscribe to poverty wages. Like, owners typically make the most out of everybody in a restaurant. Again, I don't know why I have to explain this to people, but owners aren't some poor, sick, helpless, starving orphans. They are exploiters. They are slave drivers. They are the people who are perpetuating this system that causes others to suffer. You should be against them, not helping them out. So no, the only way to increase pay for cooks is not to increase meal prices. That's a really stupid oversimplification. This in turn increases server wage earnings. No, because it doesn't increase their wages. You tip on a percentage of the bill, which still has to account for the tax burden that servers have to abide by. So no, raising meal prices, it doesn't raise wages across the board. It raises potentially the potentiality for a person back of the house to actually make more than they do, which in which case you're actually supporting them. That's just a blatant falsity. This makes it close to impossible for restaurants to close the wage gap between front and back of the house. No, the way that you would close the wage gap is by ethically pooling tips with laws that increase oversight. If you have to keep tips in the first place, do away with tipping and give everybody a universal minimum wage. That would be great. But in the absence of that, if you have to keep tipping the way that it is, simply pool tips. Provide oversight and protections for the workers. Have some centralized office or some agency, form some agency that can actually take charge of the money and distribute it evenly and ethically, where they are beholden to oversight. Don't just leave it in an owner's or manager's hands, because then they get to decide who gets money. And when any person is left with that decision, bias will come into it. It's an unavoidable outcome. And we actually have to be supportive. We can't just pretend like we're supportive. We can't just be like, oh, you know, I'm totally in support of workers making a living wage, and then go out to eat and not tip. That doesn't help anybody. You're just harming people. It prevents restaurants from offering benefits and incentives. What the fuck? No! What are you talking about? Who the fuck would ever have claimed that? Owners are what keeps, because they don't have to follow any law that says that they must pay their workers like with benefits. Like, they don't have to give them benefits. That law, there are laws that say you don't have to do that under a certain number of people in your employ, and it's like 200 or something like that for most places. So it's like, it's not you if you are a small mom and pop that employs 30-40 people, you will never have to worry about paying them medical benefits. Doesn't that sound wrong? I mean, I would say it sounds a little fucked up. The 20% of restaurant earnings that go to tips is 20%. Restaurant earnings? Tips are not restaurant earnings. That is the most fucked up framing that I have ever heard in my entire life. Tips are essential to a server's wages. They are not part of restaurant income. They are not considered when doing taxes as a restaurant. They belong to the employee. They never belong to the restaurant at any point in their travel from their hands, the customer's hands, to the server's hands. They belong to the employees. That's why tip pooling is an inherently corrupt process, because it takes the control out of the server's hands. God fucking damn it. How ignorant can you be as an entire fucking group of people? And tipping. Such fucking propaganda. This is such insanely harmful propaganda. And I'm seeing it spread too. Like, holy fuck. Restaurant earnings factor nothing into tips. You do not get tipped out based on restaurant earnings. That's called a surplus. That's called gain sharing. That's called fucking surplus pay. Like, that is like such a terrible. I would say that borders on illegal. Like, you can't on a public forum, on a platform like this, you can't frame whatever. It's probably not illegal, but like, goddamn, that much stochastic terrorism absolutely should be illegal. Holy fuck. Just blatantly lying in the title, in like the title page of your entire forum. God fucking damn. What to know socialism? That doesn't make sense. Trump told Samsung that 20% of profit was property of the U.S. Treasury and that access to patients was mandatory after 1.2 property that USA. Do you want to make a sentence that makes sense? Or can you help me try to understand what you just said? Charlie. That management can't use to provide their workers with a living wages. No, see, that actually is literally the exact problem that you're detailing right there, which is absolutely really fucking dumb and hypocritical to say. Benefits like healthcare and performance pay to reward. What the fuck do you think tips are? You guys keep equating it with performance pay. Holy fuck. To reward exceptional servers. For managers, tipping means that they can't run their restaurant like a business on the HR side. Tell me you've never worked in a restaurant without ever telling me that you've never worked in a restaurant. Like, it clearly shows. Like, managers are typically not responsible for anything HR. Like, that's not what managers do at a restaurant. Typically the owner and then HR. If it's a small mom and pop, then I guess sure, a manager might be handling some of the HR stuff, but it's like hiring and firing. They usually outsource that to a third party. Like, that's stupid. Like, if an owner is small enough that they can't afford it, then yeah, they might handle their own HR, but it's reckless, and it's pretty clear of oversight, which is again another corrupt practice. Like, they're just giving owners all the credit here. It's inconvenient. Okay, nobody disagrees with that. It may sound trivial, but in the age of instant service from smartphones, practices that increase friction results in shift in customer behavior from the owner. The owner's the one making that happen. For example, Uber's lack of tipping. Okay, Uber, come on. They exploit their workers on paper. Is now viewed as a major selling point and, right, accentuates the headache of tipping in taxis. Software service is coming to restaurants. These robots don't expect tips. Right, but that doesn't mean that... That means that the person ringing you up is using an automated system. That doesn't mean that the person making your food or serving it to you is using an automated system. And these robots don't expect tips. Human servers who do will be disadvantaged. We're not so far from being able to just walk out of a restaurant after completing our meal, but tipping is holding us back. Then end tipping. Don't deny the server wages. These people just vote with their wallets. Taylor County just lost the new Samsung factories. 4,000 planned phones. Factory jobs gone by Trump. Threatened to steal profit and patents rights. I mean, doesn't that sound like Trump? That sounds pretty characteristic of Trump to me. You know, I don't know the man personally. I don't know what he's like outside of the Oval Office, but it sounds like an insecure baby man would do something like that. So there you go. I think they're talking about like order kiosks. Well, then fine. But that still doesn't remove the fact that there are people who work the front of the house. Even then, like the most important people in the front of the house, in my opinion, being a former restaurant owner myself, being an active catering company owner, and a occasionally tipped worker, I believe that the most important people in the restaurant are like the porters, dishwashers, the runners, bussers, the people who actually like do that, like the lowest level shit. I don't mind if servers make a little less. I wouldn't mind at all. Like, there are definitely plenty of servers. I would say they're in the top 1% of all servers that make much more than they would at another minimum wage job. But like, I mean, yeah, that's fine. Samsung took the 1.2 billion loss and moved to Canada, where they are safe from fascist raiders. I think raiders. Yeah, I mean, that sucks. Like, jobs should be... He promised to bring jobs back to America. He promised to make America great again, and I feel like things are just kind of getting worse, right? I think that sounds familiar. Drew Talbert. Yeah, no, that I have seen plenty of that guy's stuff. Like I flip through shorts occasionally, and I'll see like a lot of that guy's stuff. It's fine. I don't see any problem with it. I like it. Yeah, it is good. Definitely a lot of like, you know, over characterizations, but I think anyone would do that. I would probably do that. So, tipping video. Is that this one, or are you just linking me a random one? Nope, this is it.
All right, let's talk about tipping.
Also, I mean, if you guys in the chat, if you just like Cynical, if you have videos that you want me to look for that actually detail what we're talking about today, I'm happy to take suggestions. When I talk about stuff like this, I really just want to point out the bad actors and the people who are lying about it. So any people who have like educated takes or empirical takes on it, I'm totally down. So yeah, if you have suggestions, I'm absolutely down to check it out. His persistent characters are based on real people, but they're obviously over the top for short form comedy. Yeah. No shade on that, you know? I don't mind it. I like it.
Okay. There's this little moment in a video I just shared. Respectfully, shut up. You make tips. Respectfully, you chose to be a cook. I chose server, so. And that got the conversation going in the comments. People were.
I just want to address that right now, like before I hear the rest of his video. It's often not a choice. It's often not a choice. Working in a restaurant, and tell me if you don't understand. Tell me if you disagree. But working in a restaurant is often not a choice by the people who work there. And if you want me to explain it, you should be able to do the requisite research. The people who disagree, you should be. I'm shaking my head for emphasis' sake. You should be able to do the requisite amount of Googling that it takes to learn that fact. And it's not hard to find. But there is a reason why a lot of people don't choose to work at the restaurants they end up working at. You sometimes don't get a choice. And if it's between going back where you came from or trying to earn a living for your family, albeit risky, dangerous, illegal, exploitative, you're going to take being able to feed your family. So, I know. But I hear that a lot. Like, they even said that they chose to be a server. But that is a thing that I hear anti-tipping people say a lot is, well, you chose your job. You can choose to leave at any time. Because I think one of the most common things that people say to shitty people like that is, you chose to go out and eat and spend over $100 on a meal that you could have spent $20 on at the store and cooked at home. And I think that's a perfect justification for like using your common sense to know which situations to tip in. Which situations in which to tip where it is appropriate. You simply look at the service and you say, is this something that I could easily do myself at home? And if the answer is yes, you should probably tip. Some places aren't like that, you know. Like, could I easily just live in my house without having to pay an owner something? You know? Like, landlords should definitely not exist. Middlemen like that shouldn't exist. But that's just my own personal opinion.
We're confused at the.
They don't provide me with a service, so I should not be tipping them, I guess is my point.
Chefs received a portion of the server's tips or not.
Oh, you tipped me!
And people that worked in restaurants inside the United States versus people outside of the United States had very different answers about that. So let's just talk about it.
Y'all listen up, all right?
Yep.
Now I'm going to limit this discussion to tipping in full-service restaurants in the United States because that's my experience.
As it should be.
I was a server
As it
for
should
22
be.
years in restaurants in Nashville, Tennessee, and Los Angeles, California. Welcome to the Hotel California. Now before I get into whether the servers share their tips with the cooks and chefs, I want.
Yeah, he sounds a bit like a dandy, and I don't mean that as like a homophobic euphemism. I actually mean that as a Southern term. Like I in my youth, I probably would have been considered a dandy. But it's people with an affect who have like that Southern. Well, gosh, I just didn't know there's like a Gomer Pyle. Gomer Pyle would be called a dandy. Oftentimes, it's used as a jocular euphemism for like a dummy, like, oh, you're such a dummy, oh, you're such a bumpkin, oh, you're such a redneck. But it's seen as like, you know, that can be insulting to people who aren't from the South or who aren't familiar with each other. So I just want to make sure to explain that he seems like a dandy, which I'm meaning as a term of endearment.
I want to talk about the
but a characteristically Southern type person.
of tipping. Also want to talk about what a normal tip is, what's expected.
I just want to talk about what a normal tip is. You see what I'm like? That's what I mean. It's to me, it's cute. It's precious. He's a precious man.
By the servers in the U.S. This is your tip. I'm going to put it on the table, and every time you mess up, I'm going to take $1 away. Okay? Oh, hell no. And I want to talk about a few laws that have been passed over.
That is actually something that thankfully, I'm not friends with this person anymore, but I have had a dinner companion actually pull that with a server. And and they later told me that they had like seen it on TV, like that was an idea that they had gotten from somewhere, and I was like, that's fucking dumb, dude. You should not be doing that. I don't have a lot of friends because I am perfectly willing to shame my friends for things that they do that are like, you know, antisocial. But like he actually, we were at a sushi restaurant and he sat, Americanized obviously, so tipping is still expected. So he sat down and he like when the waitress came up, I was like, hey, how's it going? You know, like I had already been working in restaurants for a few years at that point. I was like, hey, how's it going? What's going on? I probably already knew, you know, I probably knew them to some extent too. Everyone knows each other. That's another reason why you should tip, is everyone knows each other. And if you don't, we share stories about bad customers, about customers that don't tip. But so like she comes by and she's like clearing off the last person's table. That's another thing that he did, was he insisted on sitting down at a table that had just left without seeing a host or anything. I can sometimes tolerate that, but it's like, because I know hosts usually don't really give a shit, but like at a fancy place they do. Sorry, I'm going off on a tangent. He sits down and we sit down, like she's clearing the table from the last like people who were there, and she's like, hey guys, can I get you all something from the bar or anything like that? And I was too young at that point, so I was like, no, I'm good, thank you. I'll just have a whatever, like Coke or whatever. He's like, but now before I order, I want to go ahead and just let you know something. I got a stack of ones here, and that is your tip. And if I've had a lot of like he I guess it had like people who made mistakes or something, like had wrong food orders. I don't know. This was like 20 years ago, and so he's just laying out his issue with servers, and he's saying like, I hate to do this. I know that you guys need to make your tips, but I have to look out for my own wallet, and so I'm going to take away one every time something bad happens. And I was like, the whole time just looking at him, like watching this exchange from my side of the table, just kind of like that was exactly the, like, I'm looking at my preview right now, that's exactly the face I was using. I was like, and when she left, I was like, you need to not do that. Like that's not a thing that we should be doing. Like, you're supposed to just tip on the bill afterwards. And he's like, yeah, I saw this on whatever, some fucking movie or some TV show. And I'm like, that's, and I had to explain to him. I wasn't as educated on the matter as I am today, but I had to explain it to him. I'm like, those are important, and it's like, you don't really talk about it, you know, like you're supposed to just kind of like give it to them, like on the check, like you don't, or leave it like in cash on the table. Like, you don't have to ever talk about it. It's not a thing that we ever have to like cover as a subject, you know, between us in this exchange. It really is just an element of the transaction that is intrinsic, and it sucks, but it's there, and you just kind of do it. You know, you don't have to brag about it when you do it, but you also don't declare that you might not do it. Funny stuff may find its way into our food. I am not ever going to suggest that anybody would ever do something untoward to another person's food, but you've all seen Waiting. All right? You've all seen the movie Waiting. And if you haven't, you should. It's definitely not characteristic of what goes on in the restaurant industry, but it's a fun little slice. It's not as good as this guy's skits. All right? Let's be real with it.
Years that have affected tipping practices in the United States. And now a little history. Are you bringing up old? So wealthy Americans in about the 1850s traveled to Europe, and that's where they learned tipping. They brought it back in the 1860s.
Oh gosh, it's almost like I'm providing a really consistently reinforced bit of evidence that supports the history of tipping in America. Almost like maybe I might have some insight onto the subject. So if you don't believe anybody else, believe your pal Goose. All right? I may not be your dad, but I can be your daddy if you'd like. That was gross. I'm not a sexual being, just so you guys know. I almost nothing I say is intentionally sexual. It may sometimes seem like that, but I am not, you know, I never was a big, you know, one of those types of people. So It's not intentionally creepy. if it sounds creepy, I don't mean it that way. I just have that face, you know. I just have that look about me, you know.
Seen as kind of a show of wealth, a little extra on top of what they were paying. This is $5,000 for your tip. You were kidding. Not everybody liked it. A lot of people hated it.
And every time you do something wrong, I'm taking away $1. Wait, what? Wait, that doesn't make any sense. I mean, in a piece of fiction, it's a cool thing to use as a moment of characterization or whatever. But with Mr. Pink, it was meant to highlight how much of an asshole he was. As a moment of characterization or whatever, at least revealing an element of the character doing it. Yep. Have you seen the AI images that are on like a browser homepages of like just Black Panther 3, and it's like it's fucking what's his face Anthony Mackie in the video or in the image, and it's like Denzel Washington playing what that ghost dog, what's his name, playing his part. It's so stupid. Where'd my music go? Where my music? That's what I mean. It's perfect to show the guy's a dick. Yeah. There's another scene that I like, which I think is from either... I think it's from Tarantino. No, it's Goodfellas. But to that, right? To the Mr. Pink thing.
I can't go here, I can't go there. You think you're the only one?
To Mr. Pink, I say this.
Talk to them a million times. They don't listen. If you tell him, he'll stop. I mean, what am I going to do? I'm going to wind up being declared an MIA. They're going to find me in the back of a car somewhere in the weeds. Come on. You know this fucking Tommy. You could come in with me. You know, take
Come on, man. Hurry up.
I'm begging you. You know anything about this fucking restaurant business?
The cops, deliveries, Tommy, he can call Paulie.
All right.
Now the guy's got Paulie's.
To you non-tippers, to you anti-tippers, to you Mr. Pink subscribers and Mr. Pink supporters, I say simply this.
Partner. Any problems, he goes to Paulie. Trouble with the bill, he can go to Paulie. Trouble with the cops, deliveries, Tommy.
Also, I am going to shut off my face cam. It's mostly because I smoketh of the county boss. If you also smoketh of the county boss, please feel free to join me, but I got to turn off the face cam just for YouTube stuff. All right? So if you don't see me, I'm still here.
Can call Paulie. But now the guy's got to come up with Paulie's money every week, no matter what. Business bad? Fuck you, pay me. Oh, you had a fire? Fuck you, pay me. Place got hit by lightning, huh? Fuck you, pay me.
You don't like feeling like you're paying extra to servers to supplement their wages? Fuck you, pay me.
So Paulie could do anything, especially run up bills on the joint's credit. And why not? Nobody's gonna pay for it anyway. And as soon as the deliveries are made in the front door, you move the stuff out the back and sell it at a discount. You take a $200 case of booze and you sell it for
I mean, that was all I wanted to say, was just the fuck you, pay me part.
JP Morgan's daughter hated it and opened a restaurant in New York City where tipping was not allowed. In spite of that, tipping kept catching on more and more in the United States. What really spread it was the Pullman railroad cars and the abolition of slavery. Recently freed slaves in the 1860s were hired as service workers, most notably on the Pullman railroad dining cars. They were really underpaid.
They don't want to see a black man have nothing.
And then they had to rely to survive on the kindness of strangers tipping them on top of their wages.
But that's just rude. You know what time it is.
And as these trains went around the country, it also spread the concept of tipping more and more. Restaurant servers more and more started depending on tips to survive, to the point that when the minimum wage was established, tipped employees were not even included in that.
Which is actually a little bit of trivia, which is the reason why people in restaurants who do janitorial services are called porters. Little did you know.
No. And in 1966, Congress established the tip credit, which allowed restaurants to pay tipped employees below minimum wage.
Oh my God.
In 1996, that wage was frozen by Congress at $2.13 an hour, and that has still not gone up to this day. Wow. Currently, 43 of the 50 states still use the tip credit law. In most of them, servers are...
Another common argument that I hear is that, sorry, is that no one actually observes the tip credit anymore. And if you look at like demographics across the entire country, then you may think that, sure, because 43 out of the 50 states still practice the tip credit, but very often municipalities, local municipalities, so like cities, counties, might actually have their own specific minimum wages, which actually would surpass the federal minimum wage. However, restaurants, typically smaller restaurants, are again free from oversight. They do not have to abide by laws that govern wages and tips, especially when workers themselves are not in general educated as to what the laws are governing labor. You know, the only requisite thing that restaurants are obliged to do that they actually get checked up on is to post the labor laws and relevant OSHA guidelines in the employee break room, and that's it. People come by, like the state will come by, and they'll check to make sure that you're complying with. For us, it's BOLI because I live in Oregon, but they'll make sure that you are complying with whatever that one policy is, which is simply just to post the rules and things like that in the break room or in a common space that employees gather. That's it. That's the only obligation that owners have in practice, not on paper. On paper, it's still illegal. But in practice, that is the only obligation owners have to pay a fair wage or to pay even close to their city's minimum wage, which means that often a lot of them will say that you get to make, they're like, you'll make $23 an hour. But then they'll say during the interview that a certain portion of those, or at least on the job contract, maybe they'll say like that a certain portion of those are made up of tips. You know? So they'll try and get you in with lies and then exploit you, and there's really no way that you can get out, because in some cases you actually might make more than what the state's minimum wage is. And it's like, if you're taking restaurant work, you have to already be inexperienced, desperate, or have a barrier to employment that doesn't exist for other similar industries. And so you're not going to get that minimum wage from that retail job where you still also get benefits and there's like a bunch of advancement opportunities. Nope, you are stuck. You are locked in one position where you make the same. No matter how long you're there, you will always make the same. You may get raises, but that's only if you can present a very convincing case to the owner. Why would, especially in an at-will state, why would he ever not just fire you? You know? Fine dining is an exception to that? Oh, yeah. I mean, we're not talking, that's the thing, we're not talking about like Michelin star joints here. We're talking about like, not even necessarily, like not even down to the level of corporate restaurants. We're talking about like, you know, Bob's Bar and Grill, or like the Denny's equivalent in whatever your rural area is, you know, that kind of thing. Actual restaurant workers.
Paid $2.13 an hour. It all goes towards taxes and then some.
Yep, because again, another misconception that people have, especially anti-tippers, is that servers, for some reason, are not having to pay taxes. Like, servers still pay taxes. And because your wages are so small, but you earn so much, meaning through like tips, because the tips count as gratuities, so that's like that has nothing to do with wages. You're taxed in a different sense, and so that still count. You're still responsible for your entire tax burden. So you make a little on paper, you earn like way more than that in actuality, and if you don't claim that, then Uncle Sam could come for you, you know, and say you're not paying your fair share. And if you calculate your taxes appropriately, you're paying more than your minimum wage in taxes. Is that not fucking insane? To me, that's insane. Let's say you make $20 an hour, and that's all tips. Like $2.13 is not tips of that. Your taxes now outweigh the wage that you make on paper. And all that, and you still can't afford health care. You still don't have guaranteed hours or guaranteed shifts. You don't have health care. You don't have insurance. You don't have like travel time. You don't have vacation time. You don't have maternity leave. You can't have bonding time. You don't have like you know, fuck man, like it's like servers already, like servers, restaurant workers in general, people at the very bottom rung of society have it bad enough in general. And then what people who don't tip are going to go into their restaurants and say is, I'm going to pay your owner, and I'm going to do it at least once a week. You know, sometimes 3 times a week, because people on average who are wealthy tend to eat out around 3 times a week, 1 to 3 times a week. That's the statistic. I just turned 18 and I don't tip because I'm too young for money. Well, then you shouldn't be spending money going out. But there are certain places where you should and shouldn't tip. My guess is an 18-year-old probably isn't going to eat at a fine dining joint. But if you are, then you should probably be tipping. It's not like a budgetary thing. You have to factor in a tip when you're thinking about going out to eat. That's just in general how we're supposed to operate. And if you can't factor that in, if you say like, well, with a tip it would be too much, then you can say, well, maybe I can just get some rice and beans and make that at home. Person is supposed to be able to live for around $200 a month for food. On average. And that accounts for people somewhat like anywhere from 18 to 24. Pretty sick atmospheric drum and bass. Is that a giant bass, a big lake bass, smallmouth bass? I need to know which spoon to use. It's been a while since I've gone fishing, man. I occasionally will buy licenses and then just never use them. And so it's like, what's the point? Like, that's like, I don't know. It's cheap. It's like $100 or something like that for an annual license. But like, if I'm not going out there and my poles are just sitting in the kitchen, I don't know why we keep them in the kitchen, but that's where they're out of the way. My poles are just sitting in the kitchen. What the hell am I doing? You know? I do occasionally practice casting in my backyard. As any man should.
So they are completely surviving on tips. That was my situation when I worked in Nashville. My paychecks were zero, and everything.
And the South predominantly uses the tax credit. The South predominantly will pay people the $213 and make them hustle for tips.
I made to survive on was tips. 7 states do not use the tip credit. So I worked in Los Angeles, California. California,
woo!
It does not. So we got full minimum wage plus tips.
Woo!
But most servers in the U.S. are making below minimum wage, which brings me to.
Which is, I mean, that's fine. I understand as a customer myself. I completely understand if you think that it's ridiculous for someone to both make minimum wage and tips, but that's a bigger argument. That's a much bigger argument. That's about whether or not people deserve to make a living wage at minimum, like at unskilled or entry-level jobs. I fully am of the side that believes that everyone deserves a living wage from the moment they start working. Either we should be a society that pays its citizens a universal minimum wage, meaning that you can take care of rent, you have basic transportation, you have an allotment for groceries, you have all that stuff taken care of by Uncle Sam, and when you work, it's for like fancy stuff, it's for extra shit. That would be great. Or having it be so that everyone's minimum wage, regardless of what age you start working, regardless of what job you have, is at least enough to pay for your basic needs. Because we're just not a society like that right now. And so like it should just be that way. God damn it, it should just be that way. Fuck.
To what is a normal tip, what's expected in my experience.
But yeah, like that, I understand. I understand that it's ridiculous to see someone working for a guaranteed minimum wage, like in a place like LA, and think to yourself, well, and they're expecting me to tip extra, like they're expecting me to tip. I understand how that feels, and I understand that it seems like extra to you, but they are hustling for what they are owed, just like you should be in your industry. And I bet you anything, if you looked at the service industry from your industry and you said, my industry needs help, we need advocacy, we need someone standing on the line with us, advocating for our rights and saying and arguing that we need a living wage, then the service industry would absolutely back you up. And they wouldn't even ask for you to do it for them, but they would hope, and you should, because we should be a society that lifts each other up. Period. Zero negotiations on that policy.
servers across the board in full service restaurants expect 20%.
Fishing is pretty cool. A nice top water catch off of frog lure, pulling it through the heavy grass lily pads, 35-pound braid early in the morning out on the shallow edge of a lake. Pretty chill stuff. Not the way you're describing it. I got stressed. Yeah, I sometimes get pretty fancy with it. Occasionally I just spilled water all over myself. Occasionally I just get like my cheapest spoon and 10-foot pole and just start fucking throwing lines in the water. That shit's like the funnest. It's like it's one of the most casual like pastimes that you can just like get up in the morning and go do. I love it. Fishing is my life, man. Not really. We're talking about largemouth bass. Oh yeah, man. A spoon, honestly, I've tried all kinds of like I like either a Texas rig with a like a nice floppy worm, and then I can cast through. I'll cast through like brush, but like honestly, a spoon like a couple inches down below, like fuck man, that usually does the trick. Especially on like a big coastal lake. Holy fuck! Like I have never caught so many bass as with just a cheap ass fucking spoon, man. Like a little spinner, like a little like tiny little like a red like, little spinner, like you know.
Or 2% of all sales is fire.
2%? We'd have to shut down. I mean,
all right, 3%.
Well, don't go too low.
This is not my opinion. This is a fact. I've worked in 12 restaurants. It's expected 20%.
Oh, yeah.
You could say 15 to 20%, but we were always hoping for 20%. I give 10% service for 10%.
Yep, that's why I always say it's not rocket science. It's always 10 to 20% of the bill. I mean, and there are ways that you can cheese the math. I don't quite remember. Something with a decimal point, and then you double it. I think you move a decimal point once to the right, and then whatever chunk you have left is what you would pay in dollars. I could be wrong. And then you double it. That would be 10%. And so then if you double it, that would be 20%. Am I right on that? I'm gonna have to write that down. My brain is like Jello right now. Well, I guess it's kind of always like Jello. Let me just write this down. Hang on, let me figure this out. I'm a grown man. I can figure this out. Don't baby me. Don't baby me. I'm a man. I'm a grown man. I'm a big boy. All right? I'm a big boy. All right. So if my bill is, I don't know, $127.50, then that would be 10% of it. So you move the decimal over to the left one place, and that's how many dollars that you can pay. Right? Is that right? I think that only works for hundreds. I think that only works for like multiples of 100. I don't think it works for anything else. I think I think my lucid brain is poking through for a moment. And I don't even think that works for like most multiples of 100. What was I thinking? What was I trying to figure out? What was the fucking trick I was trying to use? It just came into my head that there's a trick you can use. And it's not doubling the tax. Oh my god. What is it? What's the trick I'm trying to use? It has to do with the decimal point. I swear, I promise this is real. I promise. The trick is to put the decimal plate back one digit. No, that's what I'm saying. That's what I was saying. That was exactly what I said. And I thought I got it wrong. So, okay, so if it's $127.50, then I'd put it over here. So it would be $5? That doesn't sound right. Where's my fucking phone? That doesn't sound right. God damn it, Cynical! For 20%, though. You have to double the number for 20%, right? Or do you have to double it just in general? $25. 25% or 25.5 is 20% of 127.50. But I don't that's not reflected in my math on paper. Am I just dumb? Am I just really fucking stupid? I mean, the most math I ever got to was algebra. So I mean, I'm really dumb with math. I know dumb math. Like I can work a business, or I can run a business. But that's just like muscle memory and instinct, you know. 100 becomes 10, so you double that. Well, no, I know that for multiples of 100. But if it's 127.50, I don't think I did that math correctly. Because divided by 2, 25.5 is 1275. Okay. No, I did it right the first time. Don't you? Ooh, god damn it. Ooh, god damn all of you. Oh, god damn every single. I think Cynical, you're the only one here, but oh, god damn all of you. So, okay, so I'm going to do this again. 127.50. If I move the decimal over one place, that's what I pay. That's what I would pay if I was paying 10%. 12.75. Let's try it with a different one. Let's try it with 643.26. Move the decimal over one place, then you would pay 64.32 if you were paying 10%. Then you would, I'm going to do the math on that just to make sure I'm correct, times 2. You would double that for 128. 64 for 20%. And then divide by 100? Move the decimal places over. Divide by 100. I forgot. How do you reverse timesing by 20.20? Which becomes 128.46. 64.46. Please tell me it's not 40 fucking 6, because then I would be wrong again. It should be 64. 643.26 becomes 64.32 becomes 128.64. Whatever. Point is, that's a good trick to use. That is the best trick to use. When I on the edit, I'm probably going to cut that way down so that I look way less stupid. But I did remember it eventually. But yeah, that's a trick you use. So I'll say it really clearly right now. And I'll hold this up so that y'all can see it. I'll even use a fucking Sharpie. I'll pull a Trump. And I'll use a Sharpie so you can I'll really see it. Really see it. All right. So here, let's say that the price of this thing is $332.76. That looks reversed. I think it's reversed. I'm thinking that it is. Okay. Shut up. Shut up for a second. Shut up. I'm very stoned right now, okay? So just give me a second. All right. 332.76. Let's say that's your bill. All right. If you are not in a state where they are collecting income tax, or where they're not charging sales tax, then you have nothing to double. So you're like, oh God, what am I supposed to do? So here's what you do: you take it. I'm really gonna try and do this just by feeling. Take the decimal. Come on. You take the decimal. There we go. You take the decimal point and you. Which direction am I going? And you bring it over here. Right there. Right in between the 3 and the 2. Right? Okay. And so then I am not going to be able to write this at this angle while I'm looking at the preview. Oh God. Okay, hang on. This takes concentration. Hang on. Okay. So when you move the... I'm not on the right place. Oh God! Okay, hang on. Okay, so when you move... Let me get closer to the camera. There we go. Okay. All right. So we've moved the decimal point. This isn't going any quicker than the last thing. When you move the decimal point over, you get 33... 33. God damn it. 3. This is impossible. 30. Nope. 30. This. Oh my God. There we go. Okay, so you get 33. Oh yeah. 27. There you go. Okay. So that's 10%, right? All we did was we moved the decimal point one place over, and we ended up with 3327. Beautifully written in hand-drawn calligraphy. And that's 10% right there. And you can choose to go up to 20%, in which case you just double it. That's it. Easy peasy. That's how you tip. So, like, it is ridiculously easy. Ridiculous. So it's not hard to figure that out. I'm sorry it took so long to explain it, because I have not remembered that for a while, and it took some going. It took some trying. We did some trials and we did some error, and it took. Now I've made this portion of my shelves untenable, impenetrable. All right, goddamn.
Oh no, am I the reason you can only afford Bath and Body Works? A couple years I did the math of my own,
damn,
and I
bitch.
averaged a little over 19% across the board tips. But the servers don't take all that home. We tip out.
Tip out?
Yeah, you got to tip out the bartender, the bussers, the food runner, and the hostess. It's about 25-30% of what you made.
Usually 30.
Damn it. Tip out here sucks. Now, for years, it was actually illegal for servers to share their tips with the back of the house.
Darn tootin', he's going to restaurant jail.
Corruption, favoritism, all that kind of stuff.
But in 2018, Congress changed that law. And in those states that do not use the tip credit, that pay full minimum wage front and back of the house, servers can now legally share their tips with the back of the house.
Oh, yeah.
Nice. In fact, the last couple years I worked as a server here in California, we did tip out the back of the house. But that's up to each individual restaurant, and some do, some don't. And in those states that still use the tip credit, which is the vast majority of states, they still can. So the back of the house is not receiving tips in most situations.
Come on, man.
Come on. However, they are usually getting paid a lot more in those states that use the
tip credit. But I mean, compared to what servers can potentially make, it pales in comparison. When I worked in a restaurant, that was illegal. Yeah, I think it's been illegal for the majority of my experience, but people still did it because it was just the right thing to do. Cooks are not paid more than like servers just across the board. Like that's I would say a misconception. Like I think it's probably common for a server to believe that, but that's not true. They also are minus the same benefits and perks and upward mobility and stuff, and still subject to the same bias that servers are. So it's probably a more harsh environment than serving tables. I think it's common for servers to think they have a harder job, or that they get the least pay of the restaurant hierarchy, but it's about mid. I would say it's about middle.
The tip credit, servers are getting like $2.13 an hour. The guys cooking the food might be making, I don't know, 15 to 25 plus an hour. So in some situations, servers are making far more money.
Really dependent on their
tips
position and the
than
size
they
of the
could get
restaurant,
hourly from the
honestly.
owner anyway. And in some situations, they'd probably do better getting a higher hourly wage. It depends on the restaurant, the menu prices, the clientele, that type of thing. And I know a lot of people have a lot of different feelings and opinions about tipping. I'm not here to share my feelings. I'm just giving you some information. So please don't get mean in the comments. If you want to have a civilized
get mean
discussion
in the
about this,
comments.
great. If you want to
Yell at each other. You know, the thing about non-tippers is that they're narcissists most of the time. And being told that they're narcissists, being called out for their behavior, is typically the best way to deal with them. You know? You don't give them what they want, which is you, like, just letting them do what they want. That's what they want. That is what they want. They want the appeasement. They want the leeway. They want the leash to be loosened. And if you do that, then you enable them, and that you know, that's not healthy for them, nor is it healthy for society. Gosh darn it. Gosh damn it. So if you have any other videos that you would like to see on here, please feel free to suggest them. Moving on, last thing we talked about was End Tipping's views on why tipping is bad. It fosters unhealthy societal dynamics. Not only does tipping create a power dynamic where servers are subservient, I mean, they already are. I mean, it wouldn't, that would have been the same, because they're in service to the person who's being waited on. Like, that's just by nature, that's our dynamic by nature. Like, that's what, it's weird. I guess I won't quibble over that. It's even correlated to corruption and sexual harassment against waitresses. I mean, yeah. The intuition behind the corruption finding is that when people think they can buy preferential treatment in a restaurant, that mindset transfers to other domains as well. The sexual harassment finding, whereby witnesses report lower sexual harassment in states with higher tipped wages, suggests that an environment where waitresses are more reliant on tips is one where both customers and managers feel comfortable harassing. Well, yeah, because of exploitation. I mean, that's... I don't think anyone disagrees with that. Without tipping, won't servers earn less? In the short term, a short-medium run, it's unlikely. Most of the first restaurants going tip-free are mid-upscale, where restaurant talent is a competitive market. That means they have to pay servers similar to how they are paid with tips, otherwise they'll defect competitors. In the long run, it's possible that servers will earn less, but most of the first restaurants are going tip-free or mid-upscale. Seems like an irrelevant statistic. This will be balanced out by higher wages for cooks or potentially lower prices for consumers. Profit margins for restaurants range from 18 to 3.5. From 1.8 to 3.5? And 90% of restaurants close in their first year. I don't think that sounds right. I guess I would have to crunch some numbers, but that doesn't sound right to me. 1.8 to 3.5. I was making negative 1.5 the first 3 years, and then positive 13.56 to around 20%. And I'm not like a wunderkind. I'm not like extra smart about restaurants. I just didn't take any unnecessary expenses. I don't know. I feel like that should be higher, but whatever. That, combined with online availability of menu prices and reviews, which makes it easy for consumers to compare restaurants, suggests that this is a highly competitive industry, which in turn means that managers are unlikely to capture surplus from lower servers' wages for any sustained period. The main reason restaurateurs cite for going tip-free to reduce disparity between servers and cooks when they want to give raises to the back of the house, who often make half or less what servers make due to tipping. How much are servers at tip-free restaurants earning? All establishments that have spoken with the press about their transition have stated that servers will earn fair wages above minimum wage and certainly well above tip wage of $2.13 an hour most currently earn. Here are some specific examples. The thing about that like non-tipping is that it just raises prices across the board, and drives you out of competition for other restaurants in your same market. It's like if you have a $1 burger and you decide to do away with tipping and raise your burger prices $1.25 to $1.25, then like the guy down the street is still gonna have a $1 burger. And consumers, especially in a failing economy, are absolutely gonna go for the $1 burger. So going non-tipping is sure ethical, but the business will fail, which is a statistic that has been shown over and over and over again. In working models, in practice, in reality, like these people. There's a place nearby that I live, or to a place that I live. A place nearby to a place I live? No, there is a place nearby called Pinky's that is great, like awesome pizza, great place to go. They do trivia every now and again. But they did the non-tipping thing for as long as they could, and they just their pizzas were $3, $4, $5 more than the next guys, like than Domino's or than Pizza Hut, obviously, because that's cheap shit. But like even the next guy over who had the same quality pizza, like really good quality pizza, like they were charging way less for their pies because they could afford it to, because they had tipped service, and people could just choose not to do that. It doesn't affect the owner. It sucks. Like there's no way out for this kind of thing. It just takes sweeping legislation. That takes advocacy. You know? Yeah, any reform regarding this has to be sweeping. Yeah. Like fair wages enforced in a city for restaurant workers or tip service banned or something like that. It would have to be a complete rework of the national minimum wage. Like it would have to be something else, because restaurants are like, they're responsive to other politics. Like restaurants are not themselves the subject of a lot of back and forth politics or dinner table issues, but are a direct result of decisions made by people who discuss those policies. So a direct result of like social policies, like policies that have to do with, like, let's say it's a bad, like a shitty bad law, like gay marriage is outlawed or something, right? Like there's a large portion of restaurant workers who are LGBTQ or allies or supporters who would probably go on strike for something like that, right? And so that would affect the restaurant industry. Plus any legislation that you pass is going to affect the people who work there, like they won't be able to take jobs because they're again, advocating, or I don't know, like leads to more depression, leads to more self-game ending rates. Like it's just the idea, like a dystopian society creates equally dystopian people, man. Yeah, anyway, this is what they greet people with. A lot of their sources are from San Francisco, so I feel like maybe this person is just like from the Bay Area and just super jaded, like whoever started this. But I think that it's really important to, like, society, to civilization as a whole. I hate that I keep just saying the word society, like it feels like society, man. But like, that shit's important right now, like that shit is like what's going on in the world, and so like it feels extra relevant. I don't know, maybe that's just me being old, Let's see, where do we go from here? Not stream wise, but like as a civilization. Where do we go from here, man? Fuck, it seems like it's easy to kind of like lose faith in just the way that things are working now, because like, it doesn't serve anybody. Like, it doesn't, it serves, and like the people that it does serve are just like soulless automatons, you know, just all like fucking, I guess, in service to each other, sensually. Enshrouded announced that its 1.0 release date is October 15th. I fell in and out of love with that game pretty quickly. I didn't like how the, I don't know. I didn't like how it felt shallow to me. You know, like, I know that's probably not the right word. It felt shallow. It felt light. It felt airy. It felt, it didn't have a soul, you know, like an empty vessel. But then again, that's the same feeling that I got when I played Elden Ring. Like, I felt like it had no like real soul to it. Like, I don't know. I don't know how to describe that accurately. I want bigger stories here, you know? I want people to actually have, like... What's up, pup? What you doing? It's so funny. We're in end tipping right now, and I see a lot of these same posts in the tipping subreddit. Watch. Let's see if we can match them up. Safeway delivery. How much should I tip? I'm just wondering what other people would think would be appropriate. I live about 3.5 miles from the store. Straight shot, pretty much. I was doing $5 through the app. It says my tip goes straight to the driver, but the drivers seemed to be a little short with me. Maybe it's just me overthinking it. It's been like 2 bags at most for reference. My answer to this, if I'm going to approach this in good faith, would simply be anywhere from 10 to 20% if you feel that the driver should receive a tip. I don't think that there's a small amount of people who would disagree that a driver probably shouldn't receive a tip. I would disagree with that. I think that, you know, tip workers are tip workers, and that drivers are just as, you know, deserving of a wage as anybody else. So I would probably tip a driver, but there are people, I mean, there's an equal measure of people who don't agree with that. I mean, I would just say 10 to 20%. I was doing $5 through the app. You live 3.5 miles. I mean, that is a fair drive. So I think $5 sounds even almost more. If you're only getting like 2 bags, if you're getting like under 30, 40 bucks of groceries, then, I mean, $5 might be a little much, but I mean, that sounds fair, I guess. You know, and if drivers are being short, then, I mean, I would say that it can really only be them. Like, I don't think that they're like, you know, you don't have to be liked by everybody, and you don't have to have everybody like you. You can just be, you know, I don't know. You can just exist in the world and hope that people, I don't know, want to be around you for a little bit, you know. Maybe it's just me overthinking it. Yep. Pretty much. Let's see what the top upvoted comments say. 0. They will always be short with you, even if you gave them 20 bucks, right? But that doesn't mean that you then automatically just pay them 0. See, I think a lot of people really think that when that talking is really distracting me. People think that the second something bad happens, it gives them license to treat the other person like they don't deserve to live a normal life. You know, like they look for an excuse. And, you know, those people are probably kind of bastards to begin with. But it takes a certain kind of person to just try to, like, and if you understand, that's the thing. Like, a lot of these people also aren't necessarily bad actors. They are understandably frustrated. And some of them actually intentionally want to spread propaganda and misinformation, but like a lot of them are just misinformed. And I think most people, if they actually, you know, gave some thought to this stuff, then like they might actually hit my ankle on my chair. Whoo, that hurt. Woo! I'm awake though. Oh my god, that hurt. Whew. I don't know if you've ever hit your ankle like directly on like that right spot, like where it just like sends a shock up your spine, but I just did that on the metal part of my chair. Oh my, oh damn, that's gonna leave a definite bruise. Fuck, man. Doesn't matter how much you tip, most drivers are going to act that way anyway. And it's so funny that these guys all say that it's service workers that are entitled. Like, you're trying to disassociate yourself from an over 100 years old tradition that is born of a broken, racist, exploitative system that drives slave labor forward, and and you're saying that they're entitled? You're refusing to participate in civilization, my good friend. You're just refusing. You're saying, no, I don't want it. No. No. I refuse. Doesn't matter how much you tip. Most drivers are going to act that way anyway. I mean, is there a term that is like similar to racists, but like against service people? That is like a phenomenon that needs to be studied. There's like a clear bias against people who do things for us in society, you know? Like, that's weird. It feels like a phenomenon. It feels like a very specific psychological thing that we need to be like, you know, diagnosing perhaps. I just go with the suggested amount on the app. It always seems fair, especially with balanced against whatever digital coupons I can dig up, because it's a lot easier in the app compared to searching for coupons in the store. If some outstanding service thing happens, like them communicating well about subs or carrying everything in for me, then I always have a little extra cash on hand. Fair enough. Fair the fuck enough, man. Like, that's an evenly measured response. $10. I mean, cool. You know, that's way too much for what I would consider to be like maybe 30, 40 bucks in groceries. But I mean, hey, you know, fuck it. Who cares? If you want someone to tip more, encourage them to tip more, whatever. Depends on if they're shopping two, only delivery $5, fine. Shopping two, $10. Completely reasonable and well-measured response. This subreddit is full of anti-tipping zealots, and then you get the freedom fighters, you know, the people who actively go behind enemy lines. And try to... I would never, in a million years, make alt accounts for my Reddit account just to go and argue with strangers on the internet on tipping forums. I would never do that. But if I did, I would probably be one of these freedom fighters, the people who try very hard to push back against the tide of anti-tippers, because it's a noble fight. It's a noble fight. In my very high state, you had to bully old Skip so your friends would think you're cool. I think you're misremembering things, Skippy. Old Skip. They'll do nothing but tell you to tip zero. Don't listen to them. This is their echo chamber. Is this Safeway store app or a DoorDash kind of thing? Either way, I think $5 should be a good... See, and a person with the good head on their shoulders. Gosh darn it. There is a little bit of hope for mankind over on tipping. See, and tipping is just hopeless, but, you know, here it's okay. This is how tipping should work. 19 hours ago, by Attempt Fantastic 9103. My family and I had lunch at a restaurant today. We had a great meal and enjoyed our family time together, talking and eating. We were served by two people who were both perfectly pleasant. No complaints at all. And they were attentive in a relatively empty restaurant. It was exactly what a normal restaurant experience should be. There was, however, one hitch. Shortly after giving all four of us plates, the server came back and said the wrong ingredients were in my son's order, took his plate, and said they were already making his order correctly. We didn't even put fork to plate before she returned to make the correction. I actually suggested that my son should try what they brought to see if he liked it. It was something I'd definitely eat. When the server returned with my son's new plate, she placed a bag on the corner of the booth and told us to take the extra order home. Complaints or compliments of the restaurant. If my son had noticed the mistake, informed the server, and they corrected the mistake, that would have been good service. People make mistakes sometimes, and I'm not going to go nuts over a mistake that a restaurant is willing to correct. The server/kitchen, recognizing the mistake themselves before they even had a chance, is great service. Offering the complimentary extra dish is extraordinary service. And I chose to tip generously for extraordinary service. I felt good about tipping for what I felt was tip-worthy service, and that is how tipping should work. And everybody clapped. They clapped so much. Cool, good experience. I like it. I mean, it didn't feel, over the top. It actually doesn't feel like they were making this up. It just feels like they had a good experience at a restaurant, and they feel like that's how tipping should work. I don't blame you. Yeah. Cool. I mean, I thought it was going to be a rant. Nope. Not a rant. And I get the feeling that people are just going to have good discussions on here. Yep. See, and nobody responded to the bad guy. Nobody responded to the person doing it in bad faith. They respond to each other. Man, that's how a post should work. I mean, let me just put that out there. That's how a post should work. That's how people should be posting. Not being petty little bitches. Petty little bitches. All right, I'll read one more post and then we'll move on to Quora answers. I actually get paid. I mean, I'm not currently getting paid, but I actually potentially can get paid answering questions on Quora. I'm an official question guy. I don't know why they trust me to educate people, but I'm an official question dude. I'm an official guy that does... there are a lot of them. I'm one of, like, bajillions. I think it's really just based on frequency of post. And I respond to a lot of stupid shit on Quora. A lot of stupid shit. There's a lot of stupid shit on Quora. I don't know if I'm emphasizing enough how stupid some of this stuff is on Quora. I hope I'm communicating it effectively, because Quora is dumb. Dumb. There are some dumb... Have I flogged it enough? Have I? Alright, let's see if this is propaganda. I mean, okay, first of all, let me just say, bartenders should not be tipped. Like, fuck, man. Bartenders are some of the most narcissistic, self-serving assholes that I've ever met in my entire life. They will lie straight to your face while cutting your throat. They straight up will. They're bartenders, and I have never met a bartender. Well, women bartenders tend to actually just be normal people most of the time. But it's like mostly fucking dudes, like mostly like these like self-serving, narcissistic, like think they're way better than you kind of guy, who will absolutely fuck over the rest of his entire industry, advocating actively to keep tips the way that they are and not for people to get minimum wage. Like, it's fucking crazy. Bartenders are insane. Do not support them. Definitely, I mean, tip your servers, but do not tip. I mean, don't stiff your bartenders. Some of them actually really actually are good people, but like fuck, man. The stereotypical bartender is a bad person. There sure are a lot of racist Indian dudes on Quora. Yeah, I mean, it is. It's a place where shitty people gather, so it doesn't surprise me that there are, a bunch of shitty racist people. Doesn't matter what country they're from, racism is A malodorous offense that transcends borders. A global phenomena. Alright, as a bartender, I make way more in tips than I would with minimum wage only, and that's why it bothers me when people in the service industry complain about tips. Maybe maybe it's like an Indian company? I don't know. India-based? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know! Some Northern England type thing there. I don't know where that... Is that maybe like Game of Thrones? I don't want it. I'm in college, and I'm a bartender at a club in a college town with a big public university. I put my job title in quotations because I barely consider what I do real bartending. I mostly make vodka crayons, Jack and Cokes, gin and tonics, etc. Our shaken cocktails are fast and not high quality at all. Cheap and easy stuff that gets hundreds of 20-somethings drunk quickly. Did I hear chaos? I think I just heard chaos. Did I hear chaos, pups? I hope I didn't hear chaos. This is relevant because of how much money I make for a relatively low-skill job. Nothing really to address so far. Although I would say that a person in college probably doesn't have an opinion that's representative of an entire industry, but we can take that with a grain of salt for now. This is the most amazing job I've ever had. I don't work very often. Usually, I'm not going to do a funny voice anymore. That's really annoying. Usually only 4 times a month. 4 times a what? Are you living by yourself or are you living at home? You've got to be living at home. There's no way you're living by yourself. How are you paying rent on 4 days a month? I can work more if I want, but school first, and it covers my rent. My tip to minimum wage is between $9 to $12. If I say the exact amount, you can figure out which state I'm in. What? So who gives a shit what state you're in? It doesn't dox you to know where you are in a, entire state. That's stupid. I get it. Whatever. You want to protect yourself. I get it. If I say, a lot of states are going away with the $2 an hour thing, and even then, it's irrelevant because we make so much with tips. I would say propaganda so far, because that's not true. I know I'm in a unique position due to the high volume of people I serve at night and impulsive wasted people tip without thinking, but still, I get annoyed when my coworkers complain about how they made a group of 4 drinks or something and didn't get a tip. We literally make garbage easy drinks. It doesn't matter. The skill level doesn't matter, man. That's not a problem, or that's not the issue. The issue is that you're being underpaid in general. And your tips are an essential part of that. And if people are not tipping you, hey Patrick, how's it going? And if people aren't tipping you, then you're being double fucked. You're being both exploited legally, and then that part that's then pushed onto the customer is then being they're doing the exact thing that those unscrupulous people who made those laws in the first place want them to do, and still not paying you and still paying the owner. Fuck. You just don't get it because you're young. I hate to pull the age card, but you haven't worked long enough to know what exploitation looks like. You don't have a subjective experience here. So maybe think again before fucking contributing to this shit. Contributing to the goddamn noise and the fucking bias that already exists. Perpetuating that shit. It's yada yada. We're not making craft cocktails. It doesn't, and that doesn't matter. That fucking doesn't matter. Look at European countries that don't tip. In a positive way or a negative way? I think countries that culturally don't tip have their own problems. Got their own issues that they have to sort out. The restaurant owners have to pay an hourly rate. Well, yeah, I mean, here they still have to pay an hourly rate, but it's like, all minimums should be raised. Grocery workers, restaurant workers, all minimums, everyone. Because otherwise it's like, fuck, man, we what's the point of living in a world? You know, if you can't make a go of it, what the hell's the point? The other night, I took home $80 in cash tips and $110 in credit card tips for about 5 hours of work. That comes out to be $45 to $50 an hour with my base salary. But that's still for an entire day. You cannot look at the fucking money per hour that you earned. That's not where the, like, oh man, I worked for like a half an hour and I made $500 an hour. I'm set. Like that's cool. Like I made $500 an hour. Like yeah, you earned $250 for the entire day. Like what? What the fuck? Wages go up, prices go up. Not with our current economy. We can afford to raise wages across the board. Nationally, we do have it in the budget, but it's good luck with that. Like that, the administration would never. They don't want the minimum wage to go up. That's what each president, like they're like, oh yeah, you know, we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about raising the minimum wage. Nope. Now you're responsible. You were marketed more money in your pocket by taxes being taken away from tips, but instead now what you're responsible for is a larger tax burden. Because you don't have to report your tips, or like you do report your tips, or you have to, like, you don't report your tips. So on paper you're not making as much, but you're still responsible for your full tax burden. So it's like even more insane. It's even worse. And people were praising Trump for it. They were like, "Oh yeah, man, there's gonna be more money in my pocket." Yeah, and more money in Uncle Sam's pocket at the end of the year. Bet you don't think about that. Nah, I don't pay taxes. Okay. Well, do what you want, I guess. The one person that you don't want to screw over is the government, and that's I'm very intentionally saying person. But like Uncle Sam is not someone you fuck with. They will actually come after you. You know, that loan shark, he may not be able to hunt you down if you move towns. But the administration, they've got the CIA on order. They've got the FBI, they've got the ATF, they've got the they've got TSA, they've got the DOJ, the DOD, the DOFFOSHHHIJKLMNOP. They got them all, and they'll come after you. They'll send the Shriners after you. You better believe. So I actually keep most of that. My tips aren't taxed either due to no tax on tips. You dumb fuck. You still have to pay taxes at the end of the year, you dumb piece of shit. You young, dumb, full of cum piece of shit. I understand how people get stuck in this job because it's literally more per hour than my nurse boyfriend, and he actually helps save lives. The skill level doesn't fucking matter. If he's making what you're making, he deserves to make more. What the like? I'm grateful for my job. I know I would never do it if tipping was gone, as I benefit greatly from the public for tipping. I wish more people in the service industry could just admit that and not get upset if any one individual doesn't leave a good enough tip. We are lucky to benefit from a bizarre societal expectation. Well, I mean, good way to fucking throw your entire industry under the bus. This is exactly what I fucking said. This is exactly what I said. Most bartenders are narcissists that would absolutely throw their own industry under the bus if it served them. This is one of those, I've got mine, so why should I advocate for anybody else's situations? Which is fine. Again, it's within your rights to do, but it's still fucked up and makes you an asshole. Plain and simple. Like, there's no wiggle room on that. You are officially an asshole if you have a stance like that. I make more money than God, and I wish that other people would admit that it's a great industry to work for. Okay. Congratulations. God damn. Everyone else looking in the window of whoever this is establishment, all being paid under the poverty line. New to strip clubs. Well. Are you reading comments from where I'm an asshole, by the way? Why are you an asshole? Because you don't tip? Comments from where? This is from Reddit. Don't tip at Starbucks. I agree. I agree. Buffet tipping. Servers who don't... If you don't reach minimum wage, do the owner add... $0 tip at a kiosk. And it asked if I was sure. Ooh, okay. The USA. I like this. Aw. I was hoping it would be a really, like, long post. Alright, let's go over to Quora. It's fun. What's fun? Being an asshole? It depends on how you're... it depends on how you're an asshole. Okay. I have questions. I have questions. I don't have questions myself, but I have questions that are asked of me. Asked. I need to ask you a question. Just want it to be big enough so you guys can read it. There we go, that'll work. Okay. Although it does look off-center, and I don't like how that... I don't like that. I hate it when things are off-center. There we go. It just feels like they should be center, you know? Ivan Drago. Yeah. He's a cut of beef. He's a cut of beef, let me tell you. A slab of a man. I will break you. I will break you. I will break you. I will break you. Why do many restaurant owners or top chefs dislike working as servers, waiters, or bartenders at their own establishments? I don't know that you could... I wish I could dictate these, you know? I don't know that you could really say that they en masse dislike doing those roles. I have been known to come down with dishwasher syndrome from time to time, working in my own restaurants. And it's a thing. Which is, you know, dishwasher syndrome is a thing that that a lot of people get from time to time, and that is just a name. Like, it doesn't mean you go and you start washing dishes. For me, it was for a long time, but it really is just you get the compellment. You get compelled to. It's inexplicably compelled. You get the compulsion to go and do some menial task that is kind of like not within your response, like you're kind of above that at that point. It's just a therapeutic thing. It's a nostalgic thing. It's like it's a sensational thing, you know. It kind of grounds you a little bit, you know. I washed dishes at TGI Fridays. Ew. That had to have sucked. I understand why you only did it for one day. It's a thing. You know, I think most people see it as therapeutic and enjoy doing a little time on the front lines on occasion. I don't have anything negative to say to this person, because I don't think that they're like saying anything in bad faith. It's just an honest question, I think. See, and I can potentially get paid for that. I walked out like, okay, so see you guys tomorrow, and then under my breath I'm like, yeah, right. I have definitely, I try to be pretty transparent, just like normally, and like since I was a kid, I try to be honest and transparent and stuff. And so like any of the jobs that I had when I was a kid, like if I felt a reason to walk out, I usually would explain it to them. Whether for better or worse. I don't think that I ever had any negative responses. Like I think the only time someone said anything like in opposition to me saying I'm just not feeling it, or I'm this is going to be my last day or whatever like that, like was maybe I'm really disappointed, but okay, or something like that. Like people tend to receive it pretty okay. Like people see people like coming and going all the time. And if you're a manager that's like a shitty manager, then you're probably going to be all butthurt, take it personally or whatever. But typically people are pretty reasonable about it. Questions for me. Why do some steaks end up tough and dry, even if they come from supposedly high-quality sources? Well, the quality of a steak is only one small component of a whole steak dinner. Just because you spent a lot on it, the numbers of managers I've disappointed over the years, it's part of their scheme to make you feel guilty. I mean, well, it is. Maybe I need to Google what is living wages. Maybe you do. Part of their scheme to make you feel guilty. Yeah, I mean, it's mostly a. I don't think it's like a conspiracy, but it's really just a human thing. Like managers are people too, and I think that we tend to put our authority figures on pedestals and give them leeway that they don't really deserve. And so, like, you know, police are people. They are subject to biases. They are subject to, you know, being racist and sexist and all that kind of stuff. Same thing with, you know, priests. Same thing with teachers. Same thing with anyone that we assume is knowledgeable or authoritative on some specific niche subject, or, you know, in some trade or whatever. Like, they're all subject to the same shit that all of us other humans are. It's just weird to think that that's like that they're above that. You know, you just gotta acknowledge that. Some sticks come rough and dry also because you order them well done. You order sticks at restaurants? How does that conversation go? How do you ask someone for like a plate of how many sticks? 3 or 4? Or... even if they come from like well, I think this is for like home cooking. Assuming you're talking about home cooking, it's also time of cook, temperature, you like it done. If I understand living wages correctly, heck no. If any adult is trying to live off minimum wage, then that person is the problem. Raising minimum wage hurts everyone, mostly the working class. That is so full of disinformation that I don't know how you function as a human being. That's just super not true. Increased wages increase the amount of money that people can pay for things. It increases money that, you know, because people don't all pay taxes. It would increase the likelihood that someone would pay taxes. It increases, you know, funding for public works through those taxes. You know, companies paying out increases the tax burden on the average worker, which means that you would end up having to, you know, support the government that's paying you out more in infrastructure and public programs for your kids, healthcare, things like that. So increased wages actually help everybody across the board. What we need to do is actually stop owners from exploiting their workers. That would be cool. That would be more beneficial to society. Way better hill to die on, especially for average Joes like you or me. Bundle of sticks. I figured you were going to make a joke like that. I wanted to leave that for you. The sticks are endless? Fuck yeah, they are, dude. Yeah, if you go to an Olive Garden, you always get the endless salad and breadsticks, fill up on that, and then you get your main dish to go. Is that the tradition? Is that why they started doing those programs? Where you can get like a second meal for free? I've only been to an Olive Garden once, by the way. I wasn't impressed. Yeah, it's not very good Italian food. It's good American food. But it's not, like, amazing. Minimum wage goes up, which means cost of labor goes up. Nope, not true in any case. Cost of goods, it does not factor in labor. Tell me you've never run a business without telling me you've never run a business. Which means those who make the product raise the price of the product, which because of the labor, cost of labor is more. Actually, no. Cost of labor for them goes up too. Wages go up for them, which means that their employees are paying more, which means the guy in front of them, their wages go up, their prices go up, which means that the guy on the lowest rung of their business is making more and able to spend more. It's them gouging with prices that is the problem here. You named the problem and then you made it the workers' problem? Real interesting perspective you have there. One wonders if you're just saying things to be contrary, because that's a stupid fucking take. So then why aren't prices for a product the same as it was 50 years ago? Because of unscrupulous business owners who name the prices that they charge for things all along the supply chain. Also middlemen, arbitrage, holdings, things like that. Usually rampant corruption. Nothing having to do with workers wanting a living wage. You know we spend over $1 trillion on the military, right? Like, there's money to go around. So, I don't know why you would take the anti-worker stance. Someone with hiding their identity in their PFP who's too afraid to actually show their face on screen. Doesn't surprise me. There you go. You clearly do not know what it is to run a business. I have several successful businesses. Thanks for showing that. I don't know why you would think that that demonstrates that I don't know how to run a business. Just blatantly wrong. And even if, you know, you are entitled to that opinion because this is a free country, you're allowed to think what you want. That gives me the leeway to call you a gutless pussy. So, I guess revel in that. Assuming you're talking about home cooking, it's also time of cook, temperature you like it done, and whether or not you rested it. And if you're referring to restaurant, if you're referring to restaurant, referring to restaurant steaks, I mean, I don't necessarily want to like think dystoped. Like I don't want to assume that they're lying about the quality of the beef. I mean, they could be making up stories. They could honestly just be making up stories about, wow, misspelled that, about the beef or where it comes from / how it's treated, but also it could be a training issue in the kitchen, could be the supplier, or just a bad cut. Hard to determine. So I mean, it honestly feels like it's too broad of a question to really answer in the format that I'm doing right now, but so I'll answer it just with my voice, and I'll post this for him. But steaks being tough and dry is dependent on a lot of different factors, man. It's like it's very hard to determine what one factor is making a steak tough and dry. Tough could be because of the cut. If you're not using an appropriate subprimal, you could just be cooking like a flank or a muscle that gets a lot of work the wrong way, especially if you're making it like just seared like a steak, you know, like it could just be that you're making it the wrong way, you're making the wrong cut. The quality, if it's in a restaurant, you can't be sure of the quality just because someone tells you where it's from or how it's treated or whatever. Like, you just don't know. It could be anything. It's hard to imagine that a restaurant would just out and out lie to you about where their steak comes from, but they've been known to do that before, you know? Like, it's not an outlandish thing to hear a restaurant fibbing and making up stories about where their stuff comes from. That being said, like, I think most people are honest about it, but it also could be the way that you're ordering it. If you order it well done, it's going to be tough and dry. Like, you know, there's so many factors to determine. If you want a good steak, you usually have to get something, if you want something budget, like if you don't want to have to pay premium prices for premium beef, then go to a collective, do like a meat sharing program, or shop in places that support local collectives. Like, I know that Whole Foods overcharges for their shit, but if you can find something on sale, typically the people that they go through on the West Coast are a collective of small ranchers that actually get the chance to sell their products in a larger setting, which gives them business. So that is a really good way to support those smaller business, but they only get a very small portion of that money that goes to pretty much Amazon. So I have a hard time recommending that. But like, get something local, get something that is, you know, part of a meat share, get something that's part of some kind of program that supports local farmers, and then just get like the best cut you can. Get a spinalis dorsi, or get something straight from the rib, like get a couple ribs yourself, you know, I don't know, get something that makes sense for you based on the amount of fat you like, based on the texture that you like, and then just treat it well. You know, don't overcook it, don't undercook it. There is a way to undercook. You don't want to just always eat rare beef. There is a potential to undercook something for its texture. So you want to just make sure that you're treating it well, you know, like cook it nicely, you know, take your time, coax that flavor out of it, and then just don't put too much shit on it. You know, don't like, you can baste it with like that garlic, rosemary, thyme stuff, or you can like rub it with some coffee if you want. I don't recommend it, but just don't overdo it, you know? Don't go crazy. You know? It's easy to go crazy. You don't want to go crazy. See, it's like it's too much to just say. Why is it always that, like, it sounds like Bone Thugs? Right? Weird. Why does it have to sound like Bone Thugs? Weird. All right. Why does meat sometimes have a bitter aftertaste even when cooked properly? I'm just not going to answer that. What should the cost of food in a restaurant be? Oh my god, that's a little too complicated. I don't think I want to answer that. How do buffets calculate the cost? No. Is bison actually easier to cook? What? There's a piece of fuzz on my mic. What do chefs like most about their job? I mean, it's a little broad, but why not? You know? Ribeye, kosher salt, high heat, based in butter, apply freshly ground pepper and a little garlic powder right at the end so they don't burn. That's how I like my steak. I like it, yeah. I mean, pretty similar. I usually will get a double thick cut ribeye, spinalis on, or just a full spinalis muscle. There's butchers that'll just cut that off and sell it, and I will absolutely pay a premium price for one of those. But you take a spinalis dorsi home and just sear the shit out of it. Put some nice big grain salt on that. Cut it up. Make a little chimichurri. Heavy parsley chimichurri. Like really, really sour. Like chimichurri, lemon juice, garlic, salt, olive oil. That's it. Some diced chilies. But not too much. I don't want to mess up the steak, you know. But that's spinalis. If it's a medium rare, I'm just roasting that shit in the oven. I have this porcini powder. I'll rub steaks with porcini powder, and it puts a little more umami blast on there. And then, what's up, Helmet? And then a nice, hope you're doing well too. And then a nice, nice little sprinkling of some salt. Bada bing, bada boom. Delicious. I made one the other day, but didn't have lemon or lime juice, so I used apple cider vinegar and tagine. That wouldn't be bad. I think that'd be pretty good. It sounds like it'd be tasty. What do most chefs like about their job? Personally, I think most chefs... Oh, God. Home row. Damn it! Personally, I think most chefs would agree... I'm angled really weird, as you can probably tell. Personally, I think most chefs would agree that the chief takeaway from the profession is sentimentality. A sense that things mean more than their constituent parts, a view of the outside looking in and understanding that you're part of a world that happens around you. Most chefs would agree that getting to play with knives is the best part of the job. It's certainly a bonus. It's certainly a bonus. Personally, I think most chefs would agree that the chief takeaway from the profession, god damn, I need to practice typing, is sentimentality. A sense that things mean more than their constituent parts. A view of the outside looking in and understanding that you're a part of a world that happens around you. How do I put that into other words? Chefs understand that there's how do I say this? Chefs enjoy different kinds of things. What about the tall white chef hats that I'm assuming are required by law? They're not required, man. Nope. Unfortunately, no. I wish they were. Those things are pretty tight. Those things are pretty stylish. You know, you gotta admit. They're pretty stylish. They make people look pretty handsome. You know, it makes you look like you have a really tall head, which I've heard people find extremely attractive. Chefs enjoy different kinds of things. And there are very few common threads to what we all take from the job. But in general, it's a product of the industry itself. We are driven to like things unfamiliar, culturally different. You know, like, chefs enjoy different kinds of things, but there are very few common threads to what we all take from the job, and there are very few common threads to what we all take from the job. In general, it's a product of the industry itself. We are driven by the industry to like things unfamiliar, culturally different, or rebellious in nature, but the reality we all come home to is that we are mostly all just people with, you know, families, and friends and dogs and children, and we all just kind of have normal lives with above average prescience and likely trauma y'all don't have. Not said as like a point of pride, like it's it's something to be proud of, working yourself to death. Like that's absolutely something that societally should change, but it is true. I know what I would take away from the job: a big stainless stock pot. I need one too. You would not believe the amount of theft that goes on in kitchens, like especially when someone gets fired. That's one of the reasons why you do that, like in a public facing area or like in an office where they can't steal anything. And you make sure that they do their entire shift, they take all their stuff with them, make sure they like all that stuff before you even tell them, hey, yeah, just grab your knives, just let's go have a meeting real quick. That's when, like, you know what's gonna happen. Like if someone stops you on your way out and says like, hey, bring your knives, I just wanted to have a quick word with you before you're gone, that you know you're being fired. You know that is absolutely the end of your time there. It's time to head the other direction and grab as much shit as you can on the way out. I would never recommend that. That's just me making jokes. What would a fired person even take from a kitchen? Stock pots. Huge pots. Shop knives. Machines like Robokus. Anything that they can fit their grubby little hands on, they will take. Mops and mop buckets. Floor mats. Anything that ain't tied down. If it's accessible and you like, you fire a cook, especially like a career cook or something like that, they'll already have stashes of things that they'll then just like harvest. Or they'll tell whoever their friend is in the kitchen to do that, because they all have friends. You all have a crony. I've seen it. I have had a couple myself. I was one at multiple points. What do you usually get on a burger? I love answering questions like this. For me, there are absolutely, didn't spell that right, times where I love a burger with all kind of weird, crazy shit on it. Can you believe I'm getting paid for these? With all kind of weird, crazy shit on it, like bananas or like peanut butter or whatever. But if I'm ordering my classic burger, the one I'd crush day after day after day, not spelling anything well, it's gonna be the old Smashy Burg, one patty, white American, maybe some catsup, but ideally not. That's it. I put my hands up after that. A simple smashy, real nice and smashed. You know, little bulbous in the middle, little bit of meat left in there. You know, something to get pink. And then a nice hard sear. Bada bing, bada boom. Single bun, single piece of cheese. Snack, burger snack, right there. I know that some places will do patties at a just such thin. Thin smash that they need 2 patties on the bun. That's fine, I don't mind that. But it should be. I personally like to have a burger that's substantial enough to just only be able to have one patty in there and it's fine. Like, I want to be able to eat like 5 burgers. So make the buns small, make the sauce limited, make the patty small. I want to have a full like fucking pile of burgers. I want to be, you know, I'll pay you $2 today for burgers on Saturday or whatever the fuck. Wimpy. I want to be like Wimpy. You know, I want to have a whole plate of burgers, a whole platter of burgers. You know? You know? You know? Bip, 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 bip. I think that guy that was in here talking shit was someone I made fun of. Because I remember I recently talked shit to someone who like has fucking stupid ass mask on their thing. PFP. Burgers should be served on a thick leather plate so you get the full cow experience. Well, you really were in the military, weren't you? Biggie Sweats? Biggie Sweats gave you a shout out to 741 viewers 23 minutes ago. Sweet. What's up? Who the fuck is Biggie Sweats? I like the name. Familiar, or it sounds similar to one of the better rappers of our generations. Multiple generations. What is it like to live with a chef? Oh, dear God. I have to put my own life in a lens here. Hang on. It's hard. There is a WoW streamer named that. Well, we are going to start streaming WoW here pretty soon if I can't think of material to cover on my future streams. We're actually going to be switching formats here pretty soon. I am going to be spending mornings doing more like video production stuff because I keep trying to do it at night and I'm just like not feeling it. I think it'd be easier to actually stream at night because that's like, you know, prime time to stream. And that's something that I can just kind of flip on. I can flip a switch on and it's fine. But I really want to start doing like actual content on the channel once again because I have definitely not been doing that for a while, and I really want to start doing like sketches. I want to start doing like creative stuff. I already have half of a Kent Hovind expose, I guess you would call it. I have half of one of those. We're talking about Kent Hovind. The title is going to be, I'm pretty sure that Kent Hovind is the devil. And I think most people would agree with me. I would imagine it being tough for a partner to deal with crazy chef hours. That and their fingers smell like garlic all the time. Not if you use stainless steel soap. Alright, let's be real. If you use stainless steel soap, you're probably a super nerd. But it works. Alright. What's it like to live with a chef? It's hard. Most chefs. Kent Hovind is a crazy man. Yes, indeed he is. He's also a wife beater and a PDF file enabler. So, he's got that going for him. My broadcast died again, damn it! See, I kept my mic is not going through broadcast anymore, so I can still at least talk to y'all when rebooting broadcast. We changed that. We made it better. We improved that part of the stream. If you eat insane amounts of garlic, you can make your nose bleed because your blood will get super thin. Damn. Maybe I should do that and, like, freak out my friends and loved ones. Insane amounts? That sounds like a challenge. It sounds like you're, you know, begging me to do this. Alright. Don't you dare threaten me with a good time. Don't do it. Don't do it. I wish that I had had an alert when that happened, because I would have liked to have said thank you for that. What does that shout out mean? Like, what does it mean when someone shouts you out on Twitch? Does it mean that they, like, mentioned you on their stream, or they... Weird. Hey, alright, Helmet, have a good one. Enjoy your day. It's hard. Most chefs have some degree of depression. What is it called? Like when you imposter syndrome. It's /shoutout. Oh, okay. Sweet. What would William Shatner do? I don't know, man. What would he do? You know. Well, that's very nice of him. I don't know what I am doing that was, or what I was doing that was watch-worthy, but gosh darn it, I'm thankful. Most chefs have some degree of depression, imposter syndrome, all manner of mental issues they might be processing. It's, I wonder if it works when they aren't live. I don't know. I don't know. We can only speculate for now. But 741 viewers, so I would assume they were live. Why didn't those viewers come over and hang out with me? Come on now. Because they're watching currently Biggie Sweats. I get it. Those are his viewers. Yeah, you gotta respect the hustle. Most chefs have some degree of depression, imposter syndrome, all manner of mental issues they might be processing. It's usually hard to access them because they're often tired, busy, or building relationships with their coworkers and networking. Now, I don't know if that's really widely known. That's a big part of the job. Is it says the channel giving a shout out must be live. I just tried it on my Twitch, so they must have given it earlier, and you saw the notification now. Oh, okay. Yeah, sweet. Yeah, it said 29 minutes ago, but like I didn't get an alert or anything. It's usually hard to access them because they're often busy or building relationships with their coworkers / networking. That's actually a really big part of the job. Like I think people just kind of do it like naturally, so they don't really think about it being a big part of the job, but building relationships is a really big part of the job. If you are not actively presenting a sociable figure, or if you can be elusive and people will still like you, but like I don't know, that takes a specific personality type, I think. But like if you're the kind of person who nobody would be upset if they Irish goodbyed, then like I think you're kind of in the clear. But typically you want to be seen, you want people to respect you, you want people to know that you exist, and they'll make considerations for you. Like that's a thing about restaurant work, is that even the most gruff and like rough and tumble guys working the line still care about each other and like still want each other to do well, because if they do well, that guy's gonna do well, you know? It's very much a fraternal sort of thing, being that it's a predominantly male industry. You get what I'm saying. I would suggest if you ever strike something up with a chef that you be supportive of their seeking out help when they need it, understanding in times of crisis, even if it sounds minuscule to you in nature. Because late night crash outs over a sauce breaking will absolutely sound ridiculous to you, but it's serious to them and they just need to vent. If you stick it out though, chefs can be some of the most creative, caring, and empathetic people in any industry. Often times because of the trials and trauma. And there you go. It's hard. Most chefs have some degree of depression, imposter syndrome, all manner of mental issues they might be processing. It's usually hard to access them because they're often tired, busy, or building relationships with their coworkers and networking. I would suggest if you ever strike something up with a chef that you be supportive of their seeking out help when they need it, understanding of times in crisis even if it sounds minuscule to you in nature, because late night crash outs over a sauce breaking will absolutely sound ridiculous to you, but it's serious to them and they just need to vent. If you stick it out though, chefs can be some of the most creative, caring, and empathetic people in any industry, oftentimes because of the trials and trauma. So grats. Grats if you end up with a chef as a friend or partner. Grats to you. And grats to society and civilization as a whole. With that question being answered, I was just going to say real quick that, again, yes, the format is going to be changing. I will be streaming evenings now, starting at around 5. That transition is going to take a while. It's going to take a few days, maybe weeks to actually implement, but I just want to put that out there on the horizon. I'll be streaming it in the evening. I'll be doing mostly video production in the beginning of the day because I am really trying to make myself get on that damn stick and post those damn videos. I still have plenty of ones that I'm currently editing, and I've increased my workflow by like 500%. You know, videos will be coming out, and then I'll finally be into real, actual video production, and you will get actual videos that actually look good and that are actually telling a story and yada yada blah blah blah. And I think that'll be really fun, and I'm really looking forward to that, and hopefully that'll grow my channel and we can get channel memberships, etc., etc. Y'all know the drill. Y'all know the drill. But yeah, with that being said, we're gonna go ahead and cut it off here. I may be back tonight. I probably won't be, but I may be back tonight, and we might do like an evening stream, but we shall see. All right. If not, I'll see y'all tomorrow. Bye-bye. Have a good day. Thanks for hanging out. All that stuff.